Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot a no crank condition on a Polaris Sportsman 850. This is a 2014 model. I'm almost certain the way Polaris does their wiring that almost any model is going to be very similar to what I'm going to show you here. What I've done is I've sketched out just the starting circuit of this machine to give you a better idea of what's going on and show you how I troubleshoot why this one was not working. Now, I'll just go through this real quick. For this to start, what happens is we have a main large cable connecting the battery directly to our starter. Then we're going to take a 12 volt a wire with 12 volts that goes through a fusible link in our 10 amp fuse. And it's also going to go through a diode. And finally it's going to reach our ignition switch. And when we turn the key all the way to start, this is going to close this contact, sending 12 volts to the starter relay. All right. The other side of that coil on our starter relay is controlled by the ECU. Okay, so this brown with white wire is eventually going to get connected to ground as long as the ECU says everything's okay. In other words, I got to have my kill switch in the right position. I'm not sure if your brake switch may or may not have to be on. The gear selector has to be in the right position. Okay, so once all that's good, the ECU says fine, we'll connect brown with white to ground, and this relay will energize. When it energizes, it's going to close these set of contacts on the relay. So what that's going to allow to happen is another wire that goes through another fusible link off our battery, a white with red wire, will pass through those set of contacts and down to our starter solenoid, allowing the solenoid to engage and operate and start our engine. Okay, so first step in troubleshooting any of these problems for me is always testing voltage on the battery. So I have a basic voltmeter. I'm going to have it set in DC volts, black wiring common, red wire in your voltage plug, and I'm going to be choosing a setting just barely above 12 volts to get the most accurate reading possible. And I'm going to test my battery voltage. Okay, I should be over 12 volts. You should really normally see closer to 12.5 to 13 volts depending on how charged the battery is. Then I'm going to take that same voltmeter, I'm going to test right here at the large terminal on my starter and verify that I have the exact same voltage here. Okay, if I do, that means this large line coming from the battery to the starter is good, and also means my ground is good. Because over here I'm going to be using like the engine for ground, right? My next step is going to put that voltmeter, the positive lead, on this terminal at the solenoid of the starter with my other lead on ground and turn the key to the start position. Okay, if I get 12 volts on it, it's almost guaranteed mostly likely the problem's either a completely dead battery or a defective starter. Okay, if I do not have 12 volts, that means I got a problem either in the relay or the power feeding the relay. All right, so next step is to verify if the relay is working. It's real simple. Once you've turned the key on and all that whining and buzzing quits working, you can turn your key start, and you should either hear this start relay, which is this one right here. I'll show you exactly where this is at in the machine in a second. You can actually hear it clicking, or you can put your finger on it while you're turning that key and you'll hear it click, 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 click. You can feel it moving. It's the only thing that's happening when you turn the key to start is this relay is engaging. So if it is engaging, like mine was, then I know my coil is working. All of this whole part of my circuit is working. My ECU and everything is all telling me everything's fine. But I'm not getting any power through this circuit, okay? So on my machine, just to cut through real quick, ends up this machine was in some kind of an accident and actually pinched the insulation off of this white with red wire, shorting that wire to ground and melting this fusible link. Okay, as you can see, this is what is the fusible link. It's connected directly to your battery. Depending on what kind of machine you have at least 2 or maybe 3 of these. Okay, and you can see how that just completely melted that insulation. That's not supposed to happen. The whole purpose of these It'll melt the wire inside, but it's not supposed to go through the insulation like that. And if you put your voltmeter now on resistance and check from one end of this wire to the other, you will not get continuity, okay? You'll get infinite resistance because it is burnt. There's no longer 12 volts passing through this wire, feeding my contacts on the relay, okay? Now, if your relay was not engaging, now the best method for that is to literally pull the relay out, put your positive and negative leads across these two terminals where your relay was, and try starting the engine, okay? If you get 12 volts on your meter, well, then you probably have a bad actual relay. If you do not have 12 volts here, now we're going to keep the positive lead on this terminal, and we're going to connect our negative lead to a ground of the engine and see if we get 12 volts then. If we do have it then, that means our ECU is what's keeping this relay from engaging. So we have to figure out from there, what condition is it? Our kill switch? Is it our gear selector that's keeping the ECU from allowing the relay to ground? Okay, so like I said, this is a lot to test, but test your battery first, test voltage at your starter, test voltage at the solenoid, and then move your way backwards in the system. You'll find where the problem is. Now, like I said, this one was kind of hard finding this. It's real hard to see. This is tucked way up underneath there. You can't see. I couldn't see this before I took it off, okay? But I'm going to show you where to test the relay and actually on your starter, just to make sure everybody has a good visual of where these things are I'm talking about. So here's our starter. And deep inside of there is going to be the large, sorry about the lighting, the large terminal that your battery is connected to. You need to check voltage on that. And we also need to check the voltage on this small wire. This is what's the small wire that's engaging your solenoid, okay? So when you turn the key to start, you will see 12 volts on this terminal, okay? If you don't, we're gonna figure out why. Okay, so this is gonna be a little bit difficult. Let me get you set up here to show you inside the fuse box, because I didn't remove all of this body work to get to this. That seemed crazy to me. So I removed this and held it down here so I could get to it. And hopefully I'm getting you a good view of this. All right, so this is where that relay plugs into that I'm showing you on the diagram. This relay, when you test it with everything off, you still should have on the bottom left terminal, that's your 12 volts coming through that fusible link. That's the one on mine that was burnt up, that wasn't working, okay? The top right-hand terminal is the one that actually goes to your starter, that energizes the solenoid. The top left is the one that's coming from your ignition switch. When you turn the key to start, sending power to there, that's what you're going to verify there. And then the bottom right is what's going to your ECU, okay? Like I said, you can hold your finger on this and you can just feel it clicking. If you're clicking, you can feel this moving, then you can eliminate half of that circuit, okay? Now, the reason, like I said, this burnt this fuse up is because right here, this is the wire that I cut off the other end. I don't know if you can see this close enough, but see, the whole insulation is gone. This wire contacted the frame and burnt that fusible link up. Okay, so that fusible link has to be replaced. And I'm going to explain that real quick as well, because there's definitely confusion about how to do that exactly right and still protect your machine. So, but what you definitely do not want to do is what the previous owner did to this machine, which was add a little push button here, and from there they connected one side of that push button directly to the battery, and to the other side they hooked it to this wire right here, okay? So when you push the button, you got 12 volts on this wire, and they use this. The only way this worked is if you actually had to hold this onto that wire and push that button, and then you could, please don't do this. The new owner had no idea what was wrong, because this wire was just sitting in here, and when he pushed the button, sparks started flying and his machine didn't start. Well, I wonder why. Okay, the original wiring was still connected to the starter. Okay, it just needed to be troubleshot and fixed properly, and all it needed was a little $8 part. Okay, this is what it is. Only place I could get it locally was from Napa. It's called a fusible link, a primary wire. This wire comes already with a terminal on one end, so you connect to the battery. Okay, and what's really important about these wires is the size of them. They're sized to be able to protect your machine, and hopefully I can get a good enough view of this to show you. You see on here it says 16 gauge 1 square millimeter. Okay, so this is the exact same size that came out of the original 1 square millimeter fusible link. And what's also important about these is not just the size. This is actually a 16 gauge. Okay, so 14 gauge would be a 2 square millimeter. You don't want that. What's really important when you replace these is you actually get the proper length as well. So, you know, within reason. Okay, nobody's perfect, but so now I'm going to make sure I need to cut, you know, 2 or 3 inches off the end of this so I can be able to connect it back to that original wire that I have over there and cover that insulation that was all damaged. So, all right, real important that you get the right size fusible link and you replace it. But this is like $8, you know. How much time and money was spent on this whole switch and aggravation of this machine not working right because of this. All right, pretty simple, guys. Short circuit's not as involved as you think it is, and so hopefully you'll take a screenshot somewhere along this video and keep this for yourself and help you troubleshoot any problems you might have in the future. So hope this helps the people out, and appreciate everybody watching. See you next time.